hello from Bangkok. As you can see, this is a new format, a different format. It's also new for me. I wanted to take you to Louis Vuitton Visionary Journeys, where I have a booking today. And I thought it would be nice if you can travel with me to Bangkok and see what this is all about. It's also called here Louis Vuitton Café or Louis Vuitton Restaurant. It's very, very hyped. We already booked a month ago to see what it is all about, and I'm really curious to take you there and see if it is really worth the hype. This was what I had initially planned for this video. I wanted to take you to Louis Vuitton Visionary Journeys in Bangkok, see the exhibition, and then also have kind of a virtual coffee date at the Louis Vuitton Café, but things turned out differently, and it was quite disappointing for my friend and me because we actually had planned this well in advance. And I have to be honest here, I actually was not really sure if I wanted to do a video about this because I thought, okay, you might expect something different if I say I take you to Louis Vuitton in Bangkok. But when I thought more about it, I thought, why not? I want to be transparent on this channel. Needless to say, this is a non-sponsored video. I'm just sharing my personal experience and opinion here. And I'm also not going to sugarcoat any things, but I'm also not going to trash talk anyone. I just want to share with you what happened on that day. Needless to say, I could have contacted Louis Vuitton in advance and said I'm planning to do a video and an article about the place. Can we do something about it? Or I could have called in some favors for the Louis Vuitton Cafe and Restaurant, but this was not the purpose of my video. There are plenty of these influencer videos out there if you're interested in watching those. I wanted to give you an idea, for example, if you're planning a trip to Bangkok or if you're staying in Bangkok and you want to visit that place, what can you expect? What is it like? What do you need to know in advance? Before you actually visit that place. Now let me tell you what actually happened. As I said before, we planned this visit well in advance. We booked 1 month in advance, which was also the feedback that we got from everyone, that you have to book 4 to 5 weeks in advance. So that's what we did. Now when you book online, there are 3 possibilities. One is this Visionary Journeys, where I have to say on the link it's a bit cryptic. It is the exhibition, but you don't really know what it actually involves in addition to the exhibition. Then you have the booking for the Louis Vuitton Café, and then you also have the booking for the restaurant. And we thought, okay, some people might not be interested in the exhibition. They only want to go to the cafe or the restaurant. Maybe this was naive in the context of Louis Vuitton. I don't know. Usually when I visit an exhibition, I expect that I can at least sit down and have a coffee afterwards. And also I've been to other cafes of luxury brands, like for example the Armani Cafe in Milan, and it was not such a big deal. Of course, sometimes you have to wait, but I didn't really expect that much. It was clear to us that we are not going to get a spot for the fine dining restaurant, but yeah, let's say we assumed that the cafe would be accessible afterwards, but we also double checked. My friend got in touch with them and said that we had booked the slot for the exhibition, and she just wanted to confirm that we actually can have a coffee and a cake afterwards. And the answer was yes, of course you can, and just remember that for later, because yes, theoretically you can have a coffee, but it's not going to be the way you would expect it. On the day of our visit, we went to Chitlom. This is the area in Bangkok where this Louis Vuitton experience is located, and as we are planning ahead, we were also early. We were half an hour early, so we went over to the staff members who were already telling people where to queue up, and we said, look, we have a slot for today at 11. Are we already supposed to queue up, or what do we have to do? And then she just said, no, you can come back maybe 10 minutes before your slot, and then you will be able to enter the exhibition. So we had a coffee somewhere else, waited, and then 10 minutes before our slot, we returned to the place where you could queue up for the exhibition. And it was also kind of interesting because there were 2 lines, and the staff member explained to us, one is for people who are on time and one is for people who are running late. And as we had booked in advance, we were 10 minutes early, we waited in the line for those people who were on time. Then the minutes passed, it turned 11:05, and we see other people just being rushed into the exhibition. Then we asked, and everybody was kind of like, oh, we can't really answer this. And I have to admit, I found this a bit annoying, and for the reason that we're talking here about a luxury brand. So even if you visit an exhibition, which is for free, by the way, you expect something that's also kind of within that luxury experience, and standing in the heat and being told to wait even though you did everything right. And it was also the way that it was communicated. The staff members were talking amongst each other. They were also kind of ignoring us. It was not the most positive feeling. And then after my friend politely asked again what's happening, we were finally allowed to also go in. So I do have to say this had kind of a negative aftertaste, but fine, let's move on. There was a very friendly staff member who explained the basics of the exhibition, the rooms, what we can do, and he was also encouraging us a lot to take videos for reels and share them online. Now let me also quickly take you through the exhibition, which was one of the major reasons why I actually wanted to go there. So the first room, I would say, is clearly a selfie area. They have 96 trunks which form an arch, and around this arch there's also a video installation, and there are mirrors, so when you walk through you can take some fun videos and pictures. I assume a lot of people enjoy this. Now this arch also stands for the identity and the heritage of the brand. As I mentioned in my video about Louis Vuitton bag materials, Louis Vuitton started out as a maletier, as a trunk maker, and he experimented a lot with materials, more lightweight materials as an alternative to leather. This is how they came up with their canvas trunks. And Louis Vuitton also created trunks that were flat and stackable, which was also a major development in the travel industry at the time. But now back to the exhibition. So I understand where this room came from. Museums and exhibitions now also have to incorporate the digital world, social media. So of course they want to give you this first experience, a wow effect that everybody wants to share. I didn't mind this too much because I know where they are coming from, not only from this curatorial perspective, but also we are talking here about a brand. And what is this exhibition about? This exhibition is marketing. And this marketing relates to storytelling, to their brand heritage. So of course they want to link the heritage, this tradition, with the new technologies and give you the experience that you can share it. So I have to say I didn't mind this selfie experience. I actually found it quite fun in the beginning. The next room is called LV Origins, and it focuses on the history of the brand and where everything started. And I think it's quite a good room for beginners who want to learn more about the brand. And this also goes back a lot to the marketing strategy that I mentioned before, because if you are in that space, you need to also make sure that your customers know about your heritage. We are talking here about a brand that's about 150 years old. So of course they also want to create some kind of awareness about this. And I think this room did it quite well to break down the information without overwhelming people, because they only focus on 3 key people or 3 key figures in the brand history. Louis Vuitton himself, the founder of the business, then his son Georges, who amongst other things invented the monogram canvas, and then his son Gaston Louis, who turned the business into a global brand. Basically, this exhibition explains this phenomenon Louis Vuitton, that they started out as trunk makers, how they then diversified the products and the product range, and how it became a global brand. If you're like me and you already know more about the brand's history, you probably have heard about this information already, but there were other things in the room that made it quite interesting. There are really old trunks displayed. For example, there's one of the gray canvas trunks displayed. Next to it there was another trunk with the signature brown stripe pattern. And there were other things that were quite interesting to see. For example, Louis Vuitton created one trunk where there was a foldable chair in there. Or you could see how the products then evolved. The trunks were used for other things. For example, there was one trunk that can be used as a kind of mini library. And then once you move through the history of the brand, you will also learn that by the 1950s, the monogram canvas became a bit more flexible. So this allowed further products, and then you also see these products, for example, the canvas covers for bottles or different styles of bags. I have to say that room is interesting for, as I said, beginners. For me, there was not too much new information. I would have actually appreciated if there had been more text, more information, maybe an audio guide or something like this. What I liked was that certain objects were described in a bit more detail. So a bit more of this would have been nice, because then this exhibition is not only for beginners but also for people who already know something about the brand. The next room was called Icons, and again, aesthetically very pleasing. You have bubbles, see-through bubbles with selected bag models in there. So again, we are coming back to the pictures and the reels. So you will see a pattern in this exhibition. So this is something on the positive side that I have to say. Aesthetically, visually, it's very well made. I think a lot of museums would be jealous of a lot of these curatorial aspects here. On the more negative side, again, it was another room that was visually pleasing, but where was the content? Maybe it would have been nice to learn more about selected bag models. Certain people might know about it, but not everybody does. So this would have been something that was a bit missing. The next room and official last room is dedicated to the artist collaborations. These collaborations actually have quite a long tradition at Louis Vuitton, because Gaston Louis already started this over 100 years ago for the Édition d'Art. And this is an aspect that I appreciate most about the brand, because I'm also very much interested in this mix of fashion and art. Probably the most known examples are the collaborations with Takashi Murakami in the early 2000s for the multicolored monogram canvas, or also the Cherry Blossom collection, and more recent examples would be Yayoi Kusama or Jeff Koons. And again, this room, perfect for Instagram reels and pictures. We have a wall at the end of the room with silver bags. I think it was the Keepall model. In the center of this wall, there's also a small display which is moving, and you can see originals of bags with these artist collaborations. And then this silver wall, or the wall with these silver bags, reflects the videos that are in the front of the room. So it is a very colorful experience, and there are mirrors again. So again, this is this visual experience that they want to give you. Similar to the previous rooms, I would have appreciated a bit more text, maybe for example for the individual bags, a bit of text, 2 to 3 sentences. Why did they pick this artist? What was the inspiration for this artist to enter the collaboration or for this particular design? This would have been nice. Now we have finished this official part of the exhibition. The last room was called Souvenirs, and there was a staff member waiting for us, asking us for the ticket again, which we found a bit funny because we just went through the whole exhibition. We had shown our tickets multiple times to multiple people, but okay, maybe there's something special in this room, or maybe this was already for the cafe that they had to double check. So we didn't really think much about it. We were guided to 2 monitors, and then the instruction was very clear: stand directly in front of this monitor or machine or whatever it was, and then press the button, and then you get a souvenir. So I thought, because we had to stand there, we had to show the tickets, that this would be a personalized experience. I have seen this already in many other museums, for example in the Queen Sirikit Museum in Bangkok as well. You can design your own teddy bear online, and then you get a printout, or you can send it to your email. Now with all these instructions and the tickets, you would probably expect something like this, but it's also kind of funny what it actually was, and I will share this at the end of the video. Now we finished the more serious part of our day, and we were ready after this to enjoy a nice coffee. We already leave the exhibition, we see the entrance of the cafe, but then we are stopped by a staff member who said, no, you can't enter here, you have to take up the lift. And then we were a bit surprised, because the lift takes you upstairs to the boutique also. We just wanted to have a coffee, and we saw the door to the cafe, but they wanted to send us upstairs. So we kept saying, like, why can't we just move through? No, you have to go upstairs. And then we tried to explain it to her. Then she said, oh, you can use the side door if you want to go to the cafe, the side door leading to the outside. This was the part where we were already like, what is going on? And then we said, no, we want to have a coffee. We booked this. Why can't we just go inside? So she said the 2 solutions are: either you go up and then down the escalator, and then you are outside in front of the cafe, or you take this side entrance to this side street and go around the corner. What this basically meant is there was no spot at the cafe. And then the more we talked to her, we also realized that yes, you can visit that exhibition, but that doesn't mean that you don't have to queue up for the cafe afterwards. And when we then checked with the staff members outside, the waiting time, it was at around 11:20, 11:25, was already 1 hour. Mind you, we are talking here about a city where it's always hot, and this waiting line is outside in front of the cafe. On that day, or in that week, it was exceptionally hot. We are talking here about 38 degrees Celsius, and the real feel was 42 degrees Celsius, which is about 108 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can imagine that we were not really pleased about this whole situation. You book in advance so that you don't have to queue up, then they send you outside and let you wait in the heat. But what were we supposed to do? We just left and then checked again with the staff members outside. And again, the answer was, yes, you can do this, you just have to queue up. And this is what I said before. Theoretically, that email was correct. Yes, you can visit the exhibition. And yes, you can go to the cafe afterwards, but nobody tells you that you basically have to queue for the cafe then. But the best part about this is they make you wait for, at that time, 1 hour for takeaway coffee. This means you don't get to sit down in there. So you wait and then you get a 20 to 30 minute time slot, because again, you are encouraged to take reels at the cafe, and they only let a certain number of people in, which makes sense in general because there were only a few tables and the space is not too big, so I can understand this. Now, why would I queue up for a takeaway coffee that I then document on Instagram? I find this quite strange. Me and my friend found this ridiculous, but most of the people that were there obviously didn't. The line, as I said, was already for 1 hour. There were plenty of people taking selfies, producing their reels while waiting for a takeaway coffee. And also, just as a side note here, we are talking here about Bangkok. There are so many great coffee joints. You can get amazing desserts. It's not a place where there's a lack of good things. So what I find interesting about this whole experience, it shows how strong this brand obviously is. And this is a case which should actually be taught at business school, because that brand managed to create such a strong sense of belonging and aspiration that people are obviously willing to put up with a waiting line of an hour or maybe even longer in the heat for a takeaway coffee, then also share this experience for free and probably also pay much more for that coffee than in other places. Now, what did we do? Did we wait? Now, of course, we left because we were just not in the mood to play this game, but I would be curious, what would you have done? Would you have then lined up just to get this experience and see what this hype is all about? Let me know in the comments below. Now, you will say you talk a lot about this cafe, but what about the fine dining experience? I personally have to admit, I prefer a good cake and coffee over a fine dining tasting menu. That's just my personal preference, but I would like to explain it briefly to you. This fine dining restaurant is run by celebrity chef Gagan Anand, and it works like in many other fine dining restaurants around the world. You have to book well in advance. Usually what I heard at the moment, it is about 4 weeks where the reservations open. This is, by the way, also the case for the cafe. And then you have 2 options for this restaurant. One is lunch, one is dinner. Lunch is 4,000 baht. This is around 110 US dollars or 100 euros. Dinner is double the price, so around 220 US dollars or 200 euros. We did the experiment and said, what if we had wanted to do the fine dining? We opened up the website and chose lunch. Of course, it would be 4 weeks later, which is nothing unusual. We clicked on that lunch option and then it only said available for private dining only. For lunch, 50,000 baht. This is 1,350 US dollars at the moment. Or for dinner, 100,000 baht, which is 2,700 US dollars at the moment. I'm not judging the prices here. I leave this up to you to discuss. Let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious what you think about all of this. Exhibitions, cafes, restaurants, even hotels have become an important part of the strategy of many luxury brands. As I said before, this Louis Vuitton experience is not the only one. For example, there's also the Armani Hotel or the Café, for example, in Milan. Dior also has a cafe and exhibition in Paris. So these are just 2 examples. And as I mentioned before, I understand where this is coming from because it helps to create this luxury experience, this sense of belonging, which is becoming more and more difficult to create also in the digital age. Personally, I have to say I was just not in the mood on that day to wait around just for a coffee. Other people would, so this is everybody's choice. As I said before, let me know. I am really curious what you think. Would you have also left or would you have waited for this experience? And looking back also at this exhibition, I'm always very excited about fashion exhibitions. This is just who I am. I'm really interested in this. I have to say it was an okay exhibition. It would not be something where I said this was one of the best exhibitions I have seen. Of course, we can't compare it to blockbuster exhibitions at museums like the Victoria and Albert Museum in London or the Metropolitan Museum in New York. At the same time, we are talking here about Louis Vuitton, and they already did something that probably cost also quite a bit. So I think a bit more content wouldn't have harmed, a bit less social media, but maybe it's because I'm clearly not the main target group. Maybe most of the people go there for this social media experience, which is fine. If this is the ultimate marketing goal, which it probably is, it's less this knowledge sharing, it's more this creating of an online hype, fine by me. And I haven't forgotten about this. I still owe you the souvenir that we got. It's this black envelope saying Visionary Journey. So let's open this up and then you see this souvenir that we got. So as I said, we expected something a bit more personalized. So basically you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 of these postcards. I actually expected postcards, but after that whole hoo-ha about where we had to stand and with the ticket, I thought it's a bit more personalized. Basically, it's black and white postcards saying Louis Vuitton Visionary Journeys. They are colorful on the backside. So yeah, another thing that I will leave up to you to judge if this is a really, really cool souvenir that you are going to keep after seeing this exhibition. And I told you I had these reservations. I was not sure if I wanted to do a video about this, but actually now I'm glad I did, because it showed something to me. When I sat down to write the script for the video and also now filming this, it showed me one really interesting fact and one key learning, which is probably something that all brand owners want to create. Louis Vuitton has managed to manifest themselves as a brand where people put up with things that they would actually never do, or where everybody would say this is crazy. You're waiting for a really long time in the heat for a takeaway coffee, and then you share the experience and you actually enjoy it. Of course, we can be cynical about this, but even if we look at it through the lens of research or as a business case, this is actually something quite amazing that they have achieved as a brand, no matter if we like that strategy or not. And no hard feelings here. If you now have watched this video and you say you still want me to go to the cafe and see more, if you really want that, let me know in the comments below, because if quite a few of you are interested in that, I'm willing to somehow put up with the heat or find a way to wait or whatever and go back and check it out. Now we have reached the end of my video about this Louis Vuitton experience in Bangkok, or my personal experience there. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. If you want more fashion related articles, you can also head over to my website, thepinklookbook.com, and maybe you're also interested in my own fashion brand, Pelagona. And if you are like me and you enjoy visiting fashion exhibitions, but you didn't get the chance to travel to London to see the most recent Chanel exhibition at the Victoria and Albert Museum, I have done another video about this. Maybe it's interesting for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching this video, and see you in the next one.